Right, we're back. Little pause because of obviously the pandemic and being able to get over to Dan's to work on the bike. So, but in the meantime, there's been lots of little things to do. I managed to get the powder coating done on the frame before lockdown at the beginning of the year, and before I left, I picked up loads of little things I knew that would cause me problems: brake calipers, springs, senders, obviously the wheels, the rear swing arm as well. Loads of little bits and pieces, the front forks, the seals on them as well. So when it's coming now to the point where putting the bike back together again, it's pretty much just taking stock of everything that you took off which is broken, which needs fixing, going through the electrics, checking all that, checking the wiring, continuity, all those elements, checking connections, they're not corroded and things like that. And just pretty much the little things, bolts, which ones have been rounded off, which ones have you had to grind off, and so there's been loads of things like that. So I'll go through where the bike is now, because I did spend a couple of hours on it last week just to get my head back into it basically. And the first thing I had to do was re-watch my old videos to see how the whole thing went back together again. So I've done the wheels, I've changed the bearings, and I've fixed up the rear swing arm. It's been powder coated. We've got rubber on the tyres as well. I've got the brake discs are back on the wheels, the rear sprocket and the carrier are back on as well, and I've put on the kickstand and the centre stand as well. So today I'm going to try and see, just putting some of the new bolts on. I did a little assessment last week and there was quite a few bolts missing, so I bought some new cap head bolts, and it's now the fun part of cleaning everything, sandblasting, respraying, and seeing how to put this jigsaw back together again. So, but first of all, I'll show you how nice she looks under here.
So here she is. Now, it might look like I've done loads, but honestly, I haven't done really, to be honest with you. Like I said before, I had the powder coating done just before lockdown. There's some photographs on my Instagram about that. So what I have done, these little bits, like I said in the video. So the yoke, I took this off. This was all sandblasted back down again. It's been Caro coated. I did this over at the machine shop. Dell helped with that, which was really good. We've replaced the bearings on the yoke as well. Top and bottom bearings have been redone. We've got some new bolts, for some new cap end bolts for the top of there as well. So all of the frame has been powder coated over at Perfection Alloys. So back of the bike, the main frame itself, side stand, center stand, also the front brackets and the instrument fairing at the top has all been done as well. The swing arm, which is already dirty, a bit of grease on there already. So I did all this by hand. So during winter, I had it outside, jet washing it, going over it with wire wool, wire brush, the whole thing. And this has all been resprayed as well. So Jim very kindly as well helped change the, I say helped, he did change the bearings in the swing arm as well, because there was a little bit of travel in there also. So some things haven't been cleaned up too much. As you can see, the shock hasn't been cleaned up too much. The original shock was absolutely completely shot, to be honest with you. So Sean Jones very kindly sourced that one for me as well. But the shock's in pretty good condition, to be honest with you. It's just a little bit worn at the top here. So if I want to change that at a later time, I will do. Right now, I want to keep some elements of the bike original, to be honest with you. And that's like a little, you know, the engine's not going to look absolutely mint factory, but some things we can do. So my buddy Matt Chappell helped me change the rear tyres for me. I could have done that again at the machine shop, but just with lockdown, I've just had to sort of pick my battles, to honestly choose my battles. So put brakes back on as well, brake discs, quite expensive, the brake discs for all these. I've had to buy obviously new bolts as well because we broke the last ones. So, but just going through the bike now, I need to put the bracket for the rear caliper in there as well. So it was like last week I spent a couple of hours and literally just whipped this back together again. Went in no time at all. So what the plan is next to do is put the rear bracket on the back of the bike there as well. So just get that rear wheel all shored up, get that positioning all correctly and everything else as well. And we're not going to worry too much about putting the chain on just yet. That'll be the last thing pretty much that goes in once the engine's gone on. But it's getting the bolts put in properly for all of these. As you can see, some have been rounded off and things like that, and this was left in from powder coating, so it looks horrendous. So putting all of the bolts back in, see if we can actually put the side plates back on here, which have got the pegs on, and also has the rear brake on that side as well. So let's see if we can get all of this frame done first of all today, and then if we've got time, I'm going to possibly look at either running the electrics back in, so putting the battery box back in and the fuse box which goes on here, and just seeing about running some of those electrics back onto it, or I might stick the front wheel back on with the front forks. There might be, the only reason why I'm saying possibly about doing that is I've just, the seals have just been done on the forks, and there is a little hole that's actually in the top of the stanchions here which join up together. Now the little hose that goes between them is in one of these boxes here, and I've not cleaned it up yet. So I might leave that till next week, which would be a shame because I really wanted to get them done. But we'll see, one thing at a time. You know, it's not a race. So even though I'd love to get the bike sort of running on the road by sort of end of June, July time, we've just got to wait and see, to be honest with you. So let's get the brackets on, let's get these new bolts on, let's get this back end done all rock solid first of all, then we'll see if I can either do the front end or start looking at some of those electrics. If I don't get them done, that's something for next week. But yeah, it's little things like just painted the springs for the swing arm and the stands, both the stands. Over here I've got the sender for the front wheel, just given that clean up today. All of that needs clearing up. Again, got the exhaust from Sean Jones. These have been sandblasted, and I've repainted these over winter as well. So these were sandblasted by, or media blasted by a chap in Leicester called Maltside Blasting, and I've repainted those myself as well. They look quite nice. I've got some new rubbers to go on those as well. They weren't too expensive. The front wheel obviously is done as well. So just talking about the wheels in general actually. So this was obviously, the wheel was battered like you saw, and this just was a lot of rubbing down with my hand. It's a bit dusty now, to be honest with you. But this was all masked off. There's a little nick in it there basically, but apart from that, there wasn't any real damage on the bike. So you can see this is all just masked off here, and the whole all the wheels were resprayed. So a lot of masking, take your time when you're spraying these things. I know it looks like fun, but you will get drips if you don't take your time. So, and because it's matte as well, all the impurities and stuff, right? So yeah, it's just a bit dusty. They've been sat here. So right, well, enough talking. Just going to crack on with it now, I guess.
So, finished the back end and put that on, and then I got carried away. I put the battery box on, and then I put the entire front end on. So, I'm going to spin the camera around and I'll show you exactly what I've done with the front end. So, still need to tighten up that front spindle a little bit, but as you can see, I've put the forks on. There's new seals on, which Jim did for me. I've put all new cap head bolts on. So, because this was powder coated, Dan very kindly helped me just redo those threads. There's a little hole which actually kind of balances out the oil between them. Let me show that. So I had to clean up this little balancing pipe here. The stanchions are a little bit corroded, but that high, you know, they're never going to get that much trouble. So, but we'll see. So, top them on. I've also put a little cheekily lock on as well, just to make sure that everything was seating right. Put the bars on, which have been powder coated as well. New, obviously, key, because the last one didn't have them. But I bought all new cap head bolts for it. Just a kit of, I think it was like 30 quid or something like that. And it's just been absolutely brilliant because all of the bolts are now brand spanking new. So that's where those two will be. Coming around the back here. I'll probably have to buy some more for obviously the other bits of the back here, but I put the side on as well. I had to order another brake master cylinder for that side. But obviously this is where the gearing is, so put back on that way. So yeah, all new bolts all over the whole thing, which just looks so much better up here as well. So very happy, even new bar end bolts as well. So little things like that I'm gonna be well happy with. You kind of don't even really, not fussed about that, to be honest with you. At the end of the day, little bits of corrosion just on here and there as well. You know, it is a 40-odd bike, almost a 40-year-old bike now, so it's gonna have little bits of corrosion. Like, look at the stickers on the front of it. It's not gonna look brand spanking new, but it's gonna look like a very, very, very well looked after GPZ. So next week, the plan is to probably now start looking at putting the electrics back on. So I've been through the whole of the electric system, like I said, front to back, just with a continuity test. So just a multimeter, just going through the whole thing, just checking all the reds, checking the yellows, checking the greens, everything, just to make sure there's no breaks in the circuit at all. And then what I've done with that loom is I've just stripped out all of the old tape, cleaned all the gunk off it, all the oil off it, and then I've just rewrapped that. So now it's been rewrapped. There was also a corroded contact as well. So that I've just taken that off as well. So although those electrics should go back on next week, at the same time, I need to get the carbs sorted out, because as soon as those electrics are back on, then we can be cleaning the engine, final clean on the engine, cleaning up those carbs a bit more as well, change the front sprocket on the engine as well. We also need to check the clearance on the cams as well. Just that last thing we didn't do when we changed the head gasket. So sometimes if you miss that, the compression will be completely crap, and the timing might not be out, but certainly you'll get crap compression as well. So that's the next thing we need to start thinking about, like 2 steps ahead basically. So yeah, very happy. Dan helped me out loads today, and see, poor Dan, he's been working obviously on his Golf for months and months and months. I come in on a Friday and all of a sudden there's like pretty much an entire bike there, so he's not happy. So he'll have to get his own bike then, won't we? Who thinks that Dan should get a bike? So yeah, very happy with it now. You know, we're looking at a rolling chassis. I know that pretty much everything that's going to go back on this now is clean and ready to go. I've got a couple of objects just down there, like clips and things, little things that just need to get cleaned up. But I can do this at home during the week. So yeah, next week, get the electrics in. We'll see if I can remember how it all goes back together again. So fingers crossed. Anyway, thank you very much. And as Dan says, see you later.